Okay, I don't care. I'm not, yeah, thank you though, for everybody else's sake. By the way, the mics are on, so
Yes. Excellent.
we'll talk later.
Well, that's
Hello,
good.
everyone.
We'll keep the mayor in check then.
Yeah,
Someone's got to, right?
that's easy.
Yes.
Got stuck in traffic. Ryan, so he's gonna come in, so
Traffic, what traffic?
Is gonna be in a tie this time?
Yeah, right, if he's all
He's changing in the back.
business
40.
casual, then I'm gonna ask for a discount. There should be a different rate, right, for business casual or camping casual? What a deal. Where's that? I know, 7 o'clock.
It's 7 o'clock in Gardner, Kansas. I'm going to call the Gardner City Council meeting to order. Will you please rise and recite with me the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. If you missed the Veterans Appreciation, you missed a really good event. We had a couple of dozen veterans here that we recognized, and wanted to say for the record, I was privileged to be a part of that. I know that the rest of the council was here as well. We don't have any presentations tonight. We don't have any public hearings. It's going to be a short meeting, I think. Public comments. Members of the public are welcome to use this time to make comments about city matters or items on the agenda that are not part of a public hearing. If you wish to come forward, we only have 3 ground rules. One, we have a clock. Over here on the left side, as you're facing us, it's a 5-minute clock. We try to limit your comments to 5 minutes if at all possible. Also, no profanity and no personal attacks. With that being said, if you come forward, please state your name and address for the record, and the mic is now yours. Seeing no one coming forward, I will move on to the consent agenda. Is there any council member who wishes to remove an item from the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Melton, second, Winters, that we approve the consent agenda. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Consent agenda passes. Nothing on planning and zoning consent agenda, nothing on committee recommendations or old business. New business item number 1, consider authorizing the execution of an easement, release, and termination agreement. Economic Development Director Larry Powell, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is an item that is actually it's part of a continued planning and redevelopment of a private park out at Symphony Farms. The city has 2 existing easements across 2 different lots that are located on the park property. These easements have never had anything on them since they were originally platted on the original plat. There is nothing in them now. We have checked with all of the utilities people, and they do not need these easements for any purpose, and therefore we would like to vacate them because they are in the way of the creation of the park project that the private developer has in mind. So this is a cleanup item for the city and for the developer. It is necessary for him to proceed at this point in time. So his request is to vacate or to actually get rid of, to execute an easement release and termination agreement, terminating and releasing those easements as described in the legals.
Thank you very much, Larry. Any public comment on new business item number 1? Seeing none, any questions from council for staff?
Larry, I've got one question. How is this easement attached to the park and pool project timeline?
The timeline for right now is that the easements have to be vacated. At the next public meeting, the property will be rezoned. The Planning Commission has met and asked for that property to be rezoned. And in between, the staff will do an administrative plat review and sign off on an administrative plat to make the two properties one property. And at that point in time, and with the rezoning in place and accepted by the City Council, he will be able to start construction. And we've actually allowed him to start construction now, because what he's doing is the dirt work for the pool and the grounds and those kinds of things. And with the weather the way it is, we were wanting him to get started. He's been wanting to get started for quite some time.
Okay, thank you, Larry.
All right, any other questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion, new business item number 1.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Melton, second Baldwin, that we authorize the mayor to execute an easement release and termination agreement terminating and releasing the easements as legally described in the release and termination agreement. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? New business item number 1 passes. New business item number 2, consider annexation process with landowner consent. Larry.
This is a request to annex approximately 71.15 acres located south of 167th Street, located on the south side of 167th Street. And this would be approximately directly south of Symphony Farms and extending south across the vacant property up the hill to St. John's Trace on the other side. We have attached the maps for you on that. It's a short 80. Part of the property is actually not being annexed nor purchased for this subdivision. So this is in fact the first step to bring the property into the city limits, so then he can begin the planning and platting process. You have the legal documents and the legal description of the property in front of you. And again, this is for the planning of a new subdivision located in that part of our community.
Okay, thank you, Larry. Any public comment on new business item number 2? Seeing none, any questions for Larry or for staff?
I'm just excited to see a new subdivision get actually started.
I did have a question about the upper northwest portion of that particular parcel. That's being carved out, I'm assuming, by the seller. It's not part of the tract that's being purchased.
Correct. The part we're actually annexing, if you looked at the color photograph,
Yep.
the red area is the part that has been purchased by the developer and is the part that is in the legal description that you're annexing, which is the 71.15 acres.
Mm-hmm. And the rest of that is in a floodplain, correct?
The rest of it, well, not all of it. The creek actually runs right along that line that divides the two tracts, A and B. Mm-hmm. That tract A is now part of the next 80 acres on the west side. And if you're familiar with that property, you may realize that there are some high-pressure gas lines that cut through there. Mm-hmm. And so adding this piece, tract A, to the property owners, which is the same property owner, by the way, to the west, actually allows for them to have a 30-acre tract. Otherwise, they would have had just a 10-acre, 12-acre tract available to them to sell. So this makes the land more sellable by doing it this way.
Thank you for that clarification. Appreciate it. Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to new business item number 2.
So moved.
Second?
Motion Melton, second Gregorczyk, that we accept the voluntary consent annexation request of Sunrise Investment Corporation, signed by Brian Miller, and adopt ordinance number 2631, an ordinance annexing land to the city of Gardner, Kansas. Since we have 4 on the council now with a vacancy, if there is a tie on this ordinance vote, I would break the tie. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilman Winters,
Yes.
Councilman Baldwin,
Yes.
Councilman Gregorczyk,
Yes.
Councilman Melton,
Yes. Dodged a bullet there.
Ordinance number 2631 passes. Hey, I have to say it, guys.
Oh, I didn't know you had to say.
That's part of it. New business item number 3, consider annexation process with landowner consent.
This is a continuation of the property that we've been annexing along 199th Street. This property is been voluntarily annexed, is approximately, I'm sorry, I've lost the acres, 14.32 acres more or less, and is located along the north side of 199th Street and adjacent to the city limits of Gardner, Kansas, previously annexed property. The recitals are in place. The voluntary legal annexation papers have been received and reviewed by the county, and legal has been approved. This legal also includes the all of 199th Street easement south of that property. So it goes from not only their property, but where the easement starts on the north side, it continues to the south side of 199th Street across the face of the property.
Thank you, Larry. Any public comment on new business item number 3? Seeing none, any questions for Larry on this property? All right, I'll entertain a motion on new business item number 3.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Melton, second, Winters, that we accept the voluntary consent annexation agreement and consent annexation request of Brian J. and Sarah R. Moore and adopt ordinance number 2632, an ordinance annexing land to the city of Gardner, Kansas. City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilman Baldwin,
Yes.
Councilman Gregorczyk,
Yes.
Councilman Melton,
Yes.
Councilman Winters,
Yes.
Ordinance 2632 passes. That is the end of regular agenda items. Crazy 10 minutes. All right.
I'm gonna drag it out.
Council updates. Does staff have anything for council? I will start with Captain Crowd.
No, sir.
All right. What is he doing?
We were worried about you capturing the crowd.
Sharon. Yes.
nothing for me.
Matt Wolf. Not tonight. We might just break the record. You just got here, Ryan, and
Still shuffling
Yeah.
papers.
yeah,
I could
yeah.
phone this one in.
Yeah, you could actually.
I apologize, there were a couple accidents on the highway, but I don't have
Understood.
anything.
Okay, great. Michael Kramer.
Not this evening.
Not this evening. Larry Powell.
No, sir.
Wow. Jason Bruce. I knew someone had to say something.
Yeah, I wasn't going to let everybody off, I guess. I did just want to say thanks to all of our sponsors and volunteers that came out last week for the very chilly Boo Bash out at Celebration Park.
It was Burbash.
It was a bird bash. Fire District 1 and PD were a huge help. Fire District 1 brought out their huge jumbo mascot, and he was very entertaining with the kids. So we probably had about 500, 700 people out there.
That's pretty good.
I think a lot of people substituted their trick-or-treating that night for actual Thursday. So, but thanks to everybody that helped out. It was a pretty good event, all things considered. So
Great. Thanks, Jason. Guns Garcia.
Yes, I have a brief presentation.
Okay, great.
I just wanted to revisit with City Council. Last year, City Council directed staff to look at other sources of water in case there's an issue with Hillsdale Lake. So we did. First, I'd like to present what the water distribution system is. You can see on your screen, you have the city of Gardner, and then if you go to the south along Gardner Road, you will see that there's a line. I think it's like a green line. That's your transmission line. The transmission line goes down Gardner, and it crosses, I think, 107th Street or 201st Road, and it goes to Moonlight. From Moonlight, heads south to the Hillsdale Water Treatment Plant. So it's about 6 miles of transmission line. That's the only line we have to provide water to the city. So we went ahead and reached out to City of Olathe and Water 7. Olathe said, yep, you can have water, but you have to buy a minimum of 1 million gallons per day. We tried to reestablish conversation. They were not interested. Then we approached Water 7. They said, yeah, I think an interconnection will be mutual for both Water 7 and Gardner. So a joint study was done early this year with Lamp Reinerson being the consultant. The cost of the study was $15,137. It was split 2 ways. So the findings from the study were that the best location for the interconnection will be Waverly Road and 183rd Street. The reason for that is that we have each Gardner and Water 7 have a 12-inch water mains that can be connected fairly simple. Due to the hydraulic grade difference between the two systems, a booster pump will be needed to pump water to water 7. On an emergency basis, we can get from water 7 about 1.1 million gallons. And water 7 can get from us between 0.4 and a million. So we have two options. One is just to put a plain metering with a metering station. The cost was $181,000. However, the amount of water that we can transfer from Gardner to water 7 will be limited by the conditions of the, will be governed by the hydraulics at that time by the city. So the second option is to put a booster station to provide more water to water 7. The cost is $326,000. So in order to, there's a map of the proposed location of the metering booster station, which is along 183rd, very close to Waverly Road. So looking at the options in the needs for Gardner and water 7, we're recommending going with the option 2, which is a metering station, a booster station. So staff is seeking City Council approval to continue negotiation with water 7 to finalize the design and cost of the interconnection. The goal is to have it working operational by 2020.
Great, thank you.
Now there's another consideration which was part of this update. Knowing that the transmission line is 6 miles away from the city, we only have one transmission line. A single failure or a failure on that line for one day, we can handle that because we have 2.5 million gallons of storage. Going beyond 1 day will be troublesome for the city. Right now there is a metering vault at Hillsdale Water Treatment Plant, which is next to the transmission line from water 7. So for your consideration is to try to use that interconnection in case we have a transmission problem. We can wheel the water through water 7 and get the water up to the city and then use the interconnection at Waverly and 183rd to bring it back to the city. The cost, however, this will require an additional study, which is about $21,000. At this point, Water 7 doesn't see any benefit for them to be part of the study. And on the next slide, you will see is a map of the water treatment plant and the existing vault location that we have for water 7 and Gardner transmission. So that's a point that we can connect the two systems. An implication of pumping water through water 7 is that water 7 brings the water from Miami too. So we need to understand the impacts of not only putting water in water 7s, what kind of impact it's going to have on Miami too. And we're talking about capacity issues, maybe chemistry compatibility. Perhaps we have different types of disinfection. What's the impact of using different types? What's the impact on the pipelines? What's the impact on the storage tanks? So it's a little more comprehensive study. That's why the cost of the study will be $20,375.
All right, thank you.
So
Somebody come forward, or we just ask a question?
No, this is just a
Okay.
quick presentation, we just ask questions.
So I guess that was the thing. I thought we had an issue with water 7 already with our compatibility with,
no, there was original was with water 1.
right, water 1. 7 is not a problem then?
Well, right now we have small interconnections for
Okay.
emergency, but the lines are like less than 4 inches.
Okay.
So we're
it
talking
couldn't do
about
very
12 inches, so we can move more water between the two systems.
So Gons, a couple of questions. At what point do we break even on our $300,000 investment for the booster between Gardner and Water 7? And then what is the cost per million gallons from Water 7?
On a emergency interconnection, the cost of water is the same for both the city and Water 7. It's about $2.10, I believe.
So it's a pass-through cost?
So we have pass-through cost. Now, this is an emergency, so it will be hard to give you a payback, because when you need water, you need water.
Sure. It's the most
So
precious
it'll be
commodity.
very hard to give you how many years it'll take to recuperate that $300,000.
And so if they want water from us, as you described, we'd be selling it to them for the $2.10 as
And
well.
if we want water from them, same price.
Okay.
So we
And
need to
then-
agree on the price.
And then the storage of 2.5 million gallons in reserve, that's a one-time use, correct? I mean, once we use it, we're not
We have the
backfilling it?
183rd tower, which is $500,000. We have the downtown storage, which is $1 million. And you have another $1 million at Kill Creek. So that's
Okay.
2.5.
And then you would have 1 million MGDs from Water 7, so that would last, that would be it,
At least for one day, will
Right.
be okay.
based on usage.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
So the one MGD, after we went through the first 2.5, give me an idea of like what does that provide, or what does that service, 1 MGD a day for our town? I mean,
we still flushing toilets, right?
yeah, I mean, what is that gonna even make an impact? I mean, is that,
Right now,
where are we at?
for an emergency, and when I say emergency, something that will last hours and maybe a day. So we're okay. For one day, we should be okay. If we go beyond the 1 day event, that's the reason I'm trying to find out how much water we can pump from Hillsdale through Water 7 into the city.
Okay.
So we can probably get 2 million, 2.5, we don't know.
And that would be,
That's why this.
So that's depending on what problems they're having too, if there's a water shortage or something else. I mean, there's a lot of variables in there.
So we don't know how much water capacity how much capacity is in Water 7 line to pump the lead, let's say 2 million or 2.5.
Well, that kind of brings me to something else. The pressure gradient is approximately 11 psi, right? 10 to 11
There's a
PSI.
difference of 11 PSI between the two
Okay,
systems.
and the reason why you have the booster systems is to be able to,
Raise the pressure so we can
so we can
send
send
the
it
water to
through,
their system.
so you don't have that hydraulic gap there that's
Yes,
going
sir.
to cause problems with backflow. So, understanding that, and understanding that the booster stations are primarily, especially the one over Waverly and 183rd, are going to be used to accommodate Water 7's receiving of Gardner water. Is there, I mean, how's that gonna shake out? I mean, we're talking about spending, almost $300,000, correct?
The way we left it with Water 7 originally was that we're gonna split it 50-50.
That's what I was
So
saying.
out of that
They need to-
300,000, they will pay half of it and we'll pay the other
That's
half.
what I wanted to know, because if, it doesn't make a lot of sense for us to pay the additional charge if they're going to be the ones that primarily benefit from it with additional flow to their system.
So that's why I was seeking approval to continue conversation with Water
Yes.
7.
I understand.
Will they split half on option 1?
Yep, it was still, either option we select, it will be 50-50.
Yeah, so I still think you go with option 1,
But
what was option 1 again?
just the vault.
But the vault only allows us to pump 0.4 million gallons.
No, I'm not worried about pumping the Water 7, I'm worried about getting water to us.
Correct.
In an emergency event. Plus, the point of this is, to Randy's question about ROI, we hope that we never use this.
Right.
So let's
Having
spin
this
option
minimum-
1, and then if we ever decide that we want to do something with Water 7 to pump back the other direction, we spend the additional delta to put in the booster pump.
We're still adding water to their system, right? With the other approach?
With the airport, yeah, as far as the Gardner, we'll get whatever they can provide us. It's not the case for them.
All right. You wanna discuss option one, and if they insist on option two, then they can pay
I mean, yeah,
the difference? I mean, let's be real here.
Well, the difference isn't much off of option one.
It's 140,000, it's almost half.
That's what he said, is they were gonna pay
Half again.
It's not like we can't revisit this later, both Water 7 and us together if we deem it necessary, or they push hard for it, you know, now or 10 years from now.
I'm fine either way, but I think we should continue negotiations with them.
Okay.
I mean, this is something that's
Splitting the
needed.
50/50 is pretty good.
Okay. So you want to just let them negotiate and just option one, or just option two, or both options?
I'm with Mark, I'd go option one if we're in negotiations.
there.
Yep. The last question that I had, is this gonna be funded out of the electric utility fund, or where is those dollars coming from, whatever the 50% is? Whether it's 90,000 or 150,000?
It'll be coming from the water.
Okay.
Comments on the other, the $20,000 study, or the 21,000? If we do the study and they determine that they don't mix together, or they don't, we can't do it, I mean, are we just, that's it?
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to do this study.
Yeah, absolutely. Although I disagree with study cost, I think this is a prudent cost to have.
What should the study cost?
20,300.
Spending money on studies. Let me clarify.
Yeah,
Thanks.
it's annoying, but it's the cost of doing business to make this work.
That study might save us $600,000, you never know.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, Gons, appreciate it.
Thanks.
Does council have anything for staff? Start with Mark Baldwin, because I never start with Mark Baldwin.
Okay. I don't have anything.
Man.
Of course. Council Vice President Melton.
Well, Danica, hey, I see you back there. Thanks for everything tonight. It was awesome. Hope she heard me. So anyway, thanks. Hey, you're doing a great job. So, and oh yeah, go vote tomorrow. So
Yep.
anyway, that's all I got.
Council President
Winters.
Pro Tem Winters. I was thinking Pro Tem because
Just thank you to staff for Boo Bash, went well.
Yep.
And go vote tomorrow.
And Randy Gorsick, Councilman.
Yeah, my daughter said Boo Bash is a blast, just a little chilly.
She
But
won
thanks,
something.
thanks for putting it on.
She did.
Did she?
She won something.
Yeah, she went with
I
her
heard her name.
girlfriends and one of our friends' moms, so it was a big event for her, but she had a blast. Thank you to the Park and Rec staff. Yes, absolutely. Go and vote tomorrow. It's very important that we vote and cast our ballots. The last question I had is for Mr. Pruding. ICMA, I think you went to 2 weeks ago, and you and I visited briefly. I just wondered if you saw value in it, and then if you see value moving forward, and then I wondered what the costs were from Matt. We don't have to have the cost today, but if you could send it out in Friday Minute memo or something.
Yeah, I saw some value in it. There are a number of different classes that are scheduled at the same time. And it seemed like every day there was 3 or 4 I wanted to go to that were all at the same time. I got some value out of it. Probably could have picked topics that were probably a little more technology based and things that maybe looked further in the future than just looking at things that, you know, that I'm familiar with the topics and stuff. But as far as going every year, you know, I'd like to look at when it comes out, look at the agenda and see if I see value when I look at it.
Good. Thank you, Jim. That's all I had, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Randy. Great job on Boo Bash. Jason, I know that you guys were dealing with the elements. I was looking at your your poor employees out there, their lips turning blue, and and they were troopers. I'll tell you, they were very much appreciated out there, and the DJ was very good, and obviously I think the most popular part of that was when people were over. Well, I guess there was somebody doing a demonstration of like blow torches to make s'mores, and everybody was there trying to warm up, so that was good. But we know we can't control the weather, and we do appreciate your all's effort out there. Thank you again. Get out and vote tomorrow. It's a very important part of being a citizen. It's your franchise as part of the birthright of being an American citizen. Go out there and exercise it. It's very, very important, regardless of who you vote for, to get out there and vote. So with that being said, we've got 2 executive sessions. They both happen to be discussing management of attorney-client privileges. I don't think we need more than 5 minutes for each. It's just information updates, correct? 10, first or second? First. Okay, so 10 minutes on the first, 5 minutes on the second? That work? Okay. I will entertain a motion on executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Milton, second, Winters, that we enter into executive session to discuss matters of attorney-client privilege or statute. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Oh, wait. Beginning at 7:30 p.m. and coming back at 7:40 p.m. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? We are in recess.
We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks. It is
I'm gonna this up with a solution all the time. What it is they don't stay away from me. Exactly. Whatever it is, I don't exactly. How you do?
Yeah, I didn't particularly, but we'll appreciate it.
And you didn't even know that you were done.
Well, I knew we were locking them out, but I didn't know exactly.
That's why I say get pictures, I figured it'd be clear.
Like I said, I didn't know exactly how they
The only
were.
thing that's in a lot of comments on fire inspection is things that Donna said was okay last year. Now they're excited for it. He said, yes, we also find as long as program things off. And now they're saying that high school is going So what they said last year was okay. Now it's not. I mean, it was one person who reminded them that the tenant stuff. So the way that we handle it is say, guys, if we try to pin it down to a quick list, is give you a 400-page international fire code and you can kiss your ass with.
And
That's what will happen, right? Because you can't publish and verbally run the work. But it is odd that, like, I had an old kettle grill, old kettle grill charcoal in my hands, and that was 30 years ago. Last year they said, no, this year they said illegal.
well, sometimes I notice some things and they don't too.
But it's pretty junk.
You know, and
That's the comments you'll get from people, is that inconsistency.
and when I talked to him, he said that in general, he said there wasn't much.
Yeah, there's no
He said there wasn't much. He said the things that were better, he said
when the easement was created,
mostly the fuel was a little bit better, but there were
So it's
still
just no
some
money,
that
they don't have to pay, so I'm sorry to ask, they don't have to pay the city in order to get it.
like trailer tanks.
I wanna make sure I got that part right.
So I think the way you would word it is that we'd have a solution in 30 days. I mean, that was a reasonable way to do it.
Thank you very much. And
He
Sharon,
said the
thank you for
propane
being here.
tanks were way better. He said that was a huge improvement. I think we are gonna have to figure out, what to do about extension cords and about the electrical. And I think the electrical, and with
Just say 10. Just say 10.
We'll stay 10. I'll entertain a motion to resume regular session.
So moved.
Motion Melton, second. Wonders that we resume regular session. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, any abstentions? We are back in regular session. I'll entertain a motion to recess into executive session. I'll tell you after you.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Melton, second Gregorsek, that we recess into executive session to discuss matters pertaining to attorney-client privileged information, beginning at 7:40 p.m. and ending at 7:50 p.m. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, any abstentions? We stand in recess. And I can't say attorney-client.
Work session on the 9th.
No, I agree. That's why I said I would.
Larry, yeah, you can come too.
Me too, okay.
Jim, that might be
I'll be there.
Oh, I'll wait for all you guys to get in because we don't have a quorum without all you. All right, I'll entertain a motion to resume regular session.
Second.
Thank you. Motion, Melton, second, Gogorsek, that we resume regular session. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, any abstentions? We're back in regular session. I'll entertain a motion to recess in executive session.
So moved.
Second. Motion, Melton, second, Baldwin, that we enter an executive session to discuss matters of attorney-client privilege beginning at 7:52 and ending at 8:02 p.m.
I think we
Those in
need more
favor?
time.
We need more time?
I would suggest more time.
Let's say 15.
15 minutes, okay. Starting at 7:52 p.m. and ending at 8:07 p.m. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, any abstentions? We are back in recess.
Hey, caramba.
I'm always in pain. Come on. The fat guy.
Entertain a motion to resume regular session.
So moved.
Second.
That's one of you guys.
Motion, Melton, again. Second, Baldwin, that we resume regular session. All those in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, any abstentions? We are back in regular session. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Motion, Melton, second, Kokorsek, that we adjourn. All those in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, any abstentions? We are adjourned.